Murder attempt survivors. What happened? Not me, but my dad. When he was in his early 20s, he was in a band staying in a hotel with his then girlfriend when he woke up in the middle of the night to someone trying to rape her. He pushed him off and they started to fight. He tells the story comically about they fought through the hotel out onto the street. Long story short, the guy ends up stabbing my dad 11 times and leaving him to die on the sidewalk. A stranger was walking his dog at 5 a.m., calls an ambulance and keeps on his way. They come, save my old man, reinflate his lung and he survives. Attacker gets caught and thrown in jail. Find out he had gotten out of jail 2 days prior to the attack for stabbing another person to death. Fast forward a couple years again and my dad's playing in a band in a bar owned by his buddy. Spots the guy who stabbed him. Tells his friend who owns the bar, that guy's gotta go, that's the guy who nearly killed me. Stabber gets kicked out and was found hanging the next day in his hotel room. But wait, there's more. 35 years later, my aunt moves to the city we live in and hits up some dating app or some shoot and meets the officer who responded to my dad's attack when he was a rookie. So a lifetime later, my dad gets to shake the hand of the cop who helped save his life nearly 4 decades earlier. Shoots crazy. He pointed the gun at my face, pulled the trigger and it didn't fire. I could have beaten Usain Bolt in the next 10 seconds. My twin sister and grandpa were killed during a home invasion. I should have been there, but I left to go give a drinking friend a ride home. When I came back, there were police and tape and ambulances. Home invasion gone wrong. They were both killed execution style. She was 30. Love you, GPA Felix. And the other half of my soul is already in the after with Amelia. Not me, but a girl I went to school with. Her deranged uncle broke into her house dressed as a FedEx driver while her parents were running errands. Mom and Dad came home, tried to wrestle the gun from him before she and the husband were shot and killed. He then made all 5 kids lay on the floor as he shot them one by one. The bullet intended for my friend grazed her hand and head and she played dead. She was the only survivor. She came back to school the next year, but people were horrible. There were nasty rumors about how she made it up, faked it, how it was her fault, etc. She's now engaged and in college. One of the strongest people I know, and such a sweetheart. People are horrible. I was attacked in a friend's house by an ex-husband. He slit her throat and slashed my face with a box cutter before hitting me over the head with a plate, knocking me out temporarily. He then lit the place on fire with us in it. I managed to wake up and drag her outside and a neighbor called the police ambulance. They caught him 2 days later trying to commit suicide in a Ramada Inn. We both lived through it, and now he is serving a life sentence. It happened during my first year in uni. I lived with 3 roommates at my dorm. A few months into the first semester, one of my roommates had a mental breakdown and attempted to strangle me while I was asleep. I woke up to his hands around my throat, his knee on my chest and a deranged look on his face. I tried pushing him off me, clawed at his face, etc., but to no avail. My eyes started to dim. My hands felt leaden. I was sure I was going to die. Fortunately, my other roommate wasn't asleep. He was laying under the covers browsing on his phone. The sounds from our struggle caught his attention, and after seeing what was happening, he pushed the attacker off me and knocked him to the ground. He then woke the other roommate and together they restrained the attacker on his bed and called the university police. The police arrived around 15 minutes later, and after we told them what happened, they called the actual cops. My roommate was arrested and taken to the police station. There he had another breakdown and bit one of the cops. He was transferred to a psychiatric facility after that. He was also expelled from the university. My drunk ex-husband came home in the middle of the night while I was sleeping. He was pissed off at me for some unknown reason and got on top of me in bed and strangled me to the point where he thought he had killed me. When I came to, he was sitting on the side of the bed crying. He had choked me so badly that I had broken blood vessels in my eyes. I never spent another night under the same roof as him, and we divorced soon after. My older sister was incredibly abusive towards my family, but especially me. I'm away now, so no worries. When I was 14, our dad and her were having a super petty argument that just exploded into her trying to kill him while he tried to defend himself without hurting her. She tried to stab him 3 times over, but thankfully failed as my dad disarmed her. I could only watch this whole thing happen, completely frozen. She then turned to me and let out a horrible scream that I will always remember. She grabbed a knife off the floor and lunged at me, knocking me to the ground. She swung the knife towards my eye while screaming something along the lines of "I'm taking your eye." She kept pushing the knife towards it, but I managed to put my hands over hers and pull it off. My dad also tried to pull her off, but when she got like this, she had this insane primal strength and could barely be moved. The knife then cut underneath my eye, nearly hitting the eyeball. As usual with these events, nothing came of this, and my mom and sister still gaslight me and say that I had some glandular issue and that's how I got a scar. A while back I was at my friend's house when a guy came in through balcony glass door. He had climbed up to 2-story balcony and proceeded to start yelling at her things like "Who is the mother of Kernach?" and I stood up to protect her. It was dark and I couldn't see the knife in his hands, which he then stabbed me in the face with. Never met the guy or even knew his name. After I got out of hospital and started to try and figure out what was it all about, our mutual friend told me that he had asked the perp the same question and his answer was I was going to murder her, but didn't know Seblet was there also. I'm 23 and it was my second time getting stabbed, and altogether I have 5 stabbing scars. What the frick equals welcome to Finland? There was a girl in the village of my parents' vacation home who was known to have mental health issues. My family never judged her for it. Both my parents are teachers and used to deal with slow students that say some wicked things every now and then. When I was 2, my parents went on vacation and so did that girl's family. That girl was 12. Both families were having lunch together and my parents left the girl to play with me. When my sister, 9 at the time, went to look for me, I was being drowned in a water tank by said girl, who was just looking at my sister smiling and saying some weird things. My sister screamed and my parents and the girl's family went to the rescue in time to save me. I have no memory of this, so all I know is the story my family told me a few times. I haven't actually met this girl yet. Neither have I ever talked to her family. Both families still go on vacation to the same village at the same time, but my parents cut ties with them. It wasn't me, but my sister, and I caught it happening. One night when I was about 15, I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up to strange sounds coming from the vent which fed to my sister's room in the basement. The sounds were like her muffled voice with quick bursts of her entire voice, but not using words. But then I heard no, and I just immediately knew it was distress and very, very bad. She had a live-in boyfriend. I ran to my mom's room and said something is wrong with sister's name. Run. My mom hauls ass down those stairs and breaks through the door. Still can't believe the strength and speed she had doing so. And I heard "Get off of her, what are you doing?" and a ton of commotion. Turns out the boyfriend was strangling her, had taped her mouth shut, and had a knife by his side. My sister was blue by that point. Long story short, his mom was friends with the town judge and he got let go. No jail time. He went on to kill another woman, who was a young mother. He had a history of weird abuse which is typical of evolving psychopaths. He's now in prison. Not me, but my mom. A man entered her house just before lunchtime and stabbed her and her maid multiple times. He also kept punching both of them while stabbing them. Eventually he got tired and left. My mom played dead. Then when she was sure that they were alone, she checked on the maid to see if she was still alive. Both of them survived the attack, but the police never found the guy. The thing is, my mom knows the guy. See, she owns a flower shop and had 2 people working for her. One of them is this nice gay guy, and that guy had a boyfriend. It was the boyfriend who attacked my mom, and my mom told me that he was high and was looking for money. It seemed like his boyfriend didn't want to give him money that day, so he decided to attack his BF's employer instead. Since then, my vibrant, outgoing mom became reclusive and she developed various health conditions. She's also always in a state of pain, which led her to become dependent on pain meds. The meds ruined her kidneys and liver, and now she's undergoing dialysis for it. My stepfather decided he'd had enough one night and tried to murder my family. My brother and I survived. My mother did not. Solo hiking, ran into 2 men who acted nice at first, then started following me on my trail. Things escalated. They beat me up pretty bad while trying to rape me. I fought like fury. I'm fit and used to do combat sports, so I was able to do quite a bit of damage right back. I think when they realized they themselves were taking too many hits, they cut their losses and fled. I have no doubt they would have killed me as well as raped me if I hadn't made it such an unholy battle for them to get me down. I was a mess, and still needed to hike back to civilization after that. I could write a freaking book about that return hike. Eventually I made it out. I don't talk about it, like ever. I guess Reddit is as good a spot as any to put it down. Edited to add. Thanks for the awards and awesome comments. Guys, like I said, I never talk about this. And maybe I should. I was diagnosed with PTSD after, and in some ways, the battle still rages. But sharing it here has actually made me feel so much better, in ways I never would have expected. Much love to you all, and whatever you do, be safe doing it. And girls especially, take a self-defense course. You never know what might happen. My ex was insanely abusive, left me for dead once, and I overheard him on the phone talking to someone about what to do with the body. He had put my head through the car window and dragged me inside and threw me onto the bathroom floor. I woke up because I started drowning in my blood, face down. I managed to escape and call my mom. She got me a taxi to a hotel out of his area until I could get home the next day. She actually drove there to pick me up from another state because I had too many injuries to fly. Police didn't do much because I crossed state lines. This happened on the West Coast where he lived. I was originally from the South. Cops were very uncooperative, kept saying they'd get back to me. Checked out his place, found some blood, chalked it up to a domestic dispute. I got exhausted from the whole thing. A year later, he dated another girl, cut her head off and dismembered her. He's serving like 25 to life, I think.